I'll answer this straight, but I'm not going to turn it into a how-to manual. Think of this as a map of vulnerabilities, not instructions. If you understand the fractures, you also understand how to guard them. If I were the devil and my goal was to fracture a man's mind from birth to death, I wouldn't use constant pain or obvious cruelty. That backfires. I'd use confusion, contradiction, and slow erosion of meaning. Here's the core strategy. Chapter 1. I'd break his sense of worth early. I wouldn't tell him he's worthless outright. I'd do something worse. I'd make love feel conditional. Praise him only when he performs. Withdraw affection when he fails. Let him feel admired for what he does, never for who he is. That creates a man who spends his entire life chasing approval, mistaking productivity for identity. 2. I'd teach him that pain is weakness, but never teach him how to process it. I'd tell him, be strong, man up, don't complain. But I'd never give him tools to understand his emotions. So the pain doesn't disappear, it just goes underground and comes out as anger, numbness, addiction, or silence. A man who can't name his pain becomes ruled by it. 3. I'd confuse strength with dominance. I wouldn't make him violent. I'd make him afraid of being powerless. Teach him that losing control was losing value, that compromise is weakness, that vulnerability is exposure. Now he's trapped, needing connection, but terrified of it. 4. I'd sever him from initiation and mentorship. Historically, boys became men through guided transition. I'd remove that. No elders who challenge him. No rituals that say you are ready. No clear line between boyhood and manhood. So he spends his life unsure whether he's enough, always waiting for validation that never comes. 5. I'd turn responsibility into shame. Responsibility can give a man purpose or destroy him. I'd load him with expectations, blame him when systems fail, shame him for struggling under weight he never agreed to carry alone. Now duty feels like punishment, not meaning. Or 6. I'd distort intimacy. I wouldn't deny him sex. I'd give him access without connection, desire without safety, pleasure without truth, validation without bonding. He confuses being wanted with being known and feels lonelier the more he's touched. 7. I'd keep him busy, distracted, and exhausted. A tired man doesn't reflect. A distracted man doesn't question. An overworked man doesn't rebel. I'd keep him running just fast enough that he never asks, open quote, is this life actually mine? Close quote. 8. I'd convince him he's alone, even when he isn't. Not physically alone, existentially alone, competing with other men instead of bonded to them. Afraid to admit fear, afraid to ask for help. Isolation is the final fracture. A man who believes he must carry everything himself eventually collapses or hardens. And the cruelest part? I wouldn't need to finish the job. Once those fractures are in place, he polices himself. He doubts himself. He silences himself. He passes the confusion on without meaning to. The quiet truth, this matters. Everything that fractures a man is also where he can be healed. I'll answer this straight, but I'm not going to turn it into a how-to manual. Think of this. All right, same rules. Not a manual, a mirror. If you can see the fracture points, you can protect them. If I were the devil and wanted to fracture a woman's mind from birth to death, I wouldn't attack her strength directly. That's too obvious. I'd do something far more effective. I'd turn her power inward against herself. 1. I'd sever her from her intuition early. Women are born with a deep internal knowing. I'd teach her not to trust it. You're overreacting. You're too sensitive. You're imagining things. Every time her instincts are right, I gaslight her just enough that she doubts herself the next time. A woman who doesn't trust her intuition becomes easy to steer. 2. I'd make her responsible for everyone else's emotions. I wouldn't tell her she exists to serve. I'd tell her she exists to manage feelings. Keep the peace. Don't upset anyone. Be agreeable. Be kind, even when harmed. Now she confuses self-betrayal with love. 3. I'd tie her worth to desirability, but never let it feel secure. I'd make her feel valuable only when she's wanted, but never safe once she is. Too much if she takes up space. Not enough if she shrinks. Desired but punished for wanting. Praise for beauty, dismissed for depth. She becomes hyper-aware of how she's seen and slowly disconnects from how she feels. 4. I'd fracture her relationship with her body. I wouldn't just shame her body. I'd objectify it, even in praise. Turn her into a mirror instead of a home. Teach her to view herself from the outside. Make aging feel like erasure instead of wisdom. Now she lives next to her body instead of inside it. 5. I'd blur the line between love and sacrifice. I'd romanticize endurance, staying when it hurts, giving when empty, loving through neglect, calling pain growth. She learns to measure love by how much of herself she can survive losing. 6. I'd make boundaries feel cruel. I wouldn't forbid boundaries. I'd make them feel selfish. You're cold. You've changed. You're difficult. So she abandons herself just to be perceived as good. 7. I'd turn her anger into guilt. Anger is clarity. I'd poison it. Tell her anger makes her unlovable. That assertiveness is aggression. That silence is maturity. Now the fire that could protect her turns inward as shame, anxiety, or depression. 8. I'd isolate her while surrounding her. She wouldn't be alone. She'd be unseen, heard but not understood, needed but not known, desired but not chosen fully. Loneliness hits harder when it happens in relationships. 9. I'd make her doubt her own story. Memory is power. I'd destabilize it, question her recollection, rewrite the past, minimize harm. Eventually she stops trusting her narrative and lets others define reality. And the cruelest part? She keeps loving anyway. She keeps hoping. She keeps believing it will change. She keeps blaming herself for wounds she didn't cause. The quiet truth this matters. Everything used to fracture a woman is also where her power lives. Intuition returns when she trusts her inner voice. Boundaries restore safety. Anger becomes protection. Self-honoring rewrites love. Being seen by herself precedes being seen by others. A woman who reconnects to herself is almost impossible to control. One last blunt truth. Men are fractured by silencing. Women are fractured by self-abandonment. Healing reverses those exact forces. If you want, the next layer is the most dangerous one of all. What happens when a fractured man and a fractured woman try to love each other?